Hello, good morning. It is 8:47 in the morning, and you may be wondering, why are you only making a video now? The answer is, I went to bed, fell asleep at 5, woke up at 9, and then couldn't fall back asleep until 2:30, and then I woke up at 8. So I got like 9 hours of sleep, but very broken up. And so I'm still very tired, and I'm like, okay. So, um, so I think today I'm gonna try to fall asleep at like 8 or 9 and try it that way because it did not work doing it too early. My body just thought that I was taking a nap or something, which was a mistake. So, so that's just how the cookie crumbles, as it were. Sometimes. I didn't end up doing the continental breakfast stuff. I don't know. It's like I just don't want all of that like meat in my system, meat and carbs in the morning. Um, so in maybe a couple hours, like I had a few of these little edamame beans, little roasted beans. Um, but aside from that, I think I'm just gonna wait until like 11 or 12 and then go get some lunch at that one place that I got lunch at that had the really good like vegetable stir fry thing. I'm probably gonna do that again. The vegetable stir fry tofu thing. Uh, I might get something else, but that seemed to be pretty nice. Um, and yesterday I had like a salad, um, with like mushrooms and stuff, but man, the people I got the salad from were very like it was clear they definitely did not want to be there, and so they were very sloppy when making like everything. So I kind of don't want to go back there. Um. Oh yeah, did I talk about? I don't know if I talked about. I went to a mall, an outdoor mall, yesterday, which is cool. Ended up getting here, let me. Ended up getting this. I thought this was cute. It's just it's a little guy. Um, I don't know why. I just got it. So it was just a couple bucks, so it's like whatever. But I sorted out with the so apparently because of the way the time zones work, my Airbnb guy that's coming to pick me up, he very much was like, I thought you were coming tomorrow in the morning. And I'm like, no, I am coming Tuesday in the morning. So I'm leaving here in the evening tomorrow. Because for a second there, I panicked. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And I'm like, oh, okay. Um, And then I told him, I was like, hey, like I booked an extra day just so I had access to the place the whole day. So that's why I did that. Because otherwise check-in would have been like 4 p.m. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to just sit around potentially being incredibly exhausted, not being able to sleep anywhere, and wandering around. So I wanted to just be able to drop off everything in the morning. So that's why I ended up booking for an extra day, which turns out to be the right play because I don't know if I'm going to sleep on the plane, but if I do, I'm probably still going to want to like sleep a little extra when I get back. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Worst comes to worst, it's like, okay, like I totally fuck my sleep and I go to bed like either really early in the day or something and then like extend the time. So I don't know. I think it'll be fine. Like I do think it'll be fine. Now, one thing worrying, which I actually should probably check. He was talking about how hot it was over there, and I'm like, oh no. Wrong. 10-day forecast. Okay, so. Oh, fuck. Oh, I don't know if I wanted to look at this. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so. Sunday is 88, and I'm like, that's not too bad. And then Monday's 90, and I'm like, okay, 90. I've been in 90. Tuesday's 95. Well, that sucks. Okay. Wednesday 96, Thursday 98, Friday 99, Saturday 99, Sunday 97, Monday 95, Tuesday 96. I'm like, wow, I am really getting it on the first week that I'm there. So I'm going to have to stay hydrated and stay indoors a lot of the time. Like, I'm not saying all the time, but walking outside is fine, but also it's going to be really hot. So, I think things will be fine. It's just I'm going to have to be careful not to plan anything that takes all day outside, because I think that's just going to cook me. That's going to be too crazy. And then also lots of sunscreen. I'm going to need so much sunscreen. So, I mean, I knew this was going to be the case, so 90s is still doable. But okay. But yeah, so the Airbnb guy, he very much thought that I was going to be there a day before, because I booked a day before. So, and now I'm even more glad that I booked a day before so that I have full access to the room the whole day. So, I'm glad about that. I'm also glad he seems to be a nice person. Because I think the way it works is it's like a condo or something. I have a room, and then he has a room, and he's kind of the housekeeper there effectively. So he's living there, but also like, I don't know if it's his place specifically or if it's just, he lives there as work, I guess. I'm not too sure, but yeah, he seems nice so far. I'm glad that I'll be able to get a ride and get everything figured out. So that'll be nice. I don't know what my plans are for the day. I don't know. I feel just fucked right now. So I'm definitely gonna rest. I'm gonna get some food. Yeah, I might just veg out and just. I did add some more stuff to my Steam library that I was looking at, and then added them. Oh, and I downloaded all the potential Google Translate translation languages that I would need for Europe and for East Asia, in case for some reason I just go straight to the East Asian area. Which again, it could happen. I don't know yet. So the only thing there's two things I need to do today. I want to, do the Comcast stuff and then set up an autopay. And yeah, I'll have to I'm just going to try to do it on the website without like calling someone. I'm sure I probably can. It'll probably be annoying, but I probably can. So I'm going to do that. And then my stomach's kind of been just a little all over the place the past like day or two. So I don't know. Hopefully it kind of settles down. I don't know. Overall, I think things have been pretty successful. So I'm glad. I'm very glad that I didn't go yesterday. I obviously I'm not going today. But yeah, I think the things I needed from there, I got. And I think the main thing was like being here during this time so that then I can be in Italy during that time. So, yeah. Anyway, I did find two series that I downloaded on Audible. It's not necessarily something I'm going to be using on the plane, although I might. I think probably I'm just going to get the Wi-Fi, assuming that there's Wi-Fi on the plane. If not, obviously that changes things. But yeah. I guess I do need to upload yesterday's video. I mean, I uploaded it, but I need to add thumbnail, which takes a couple seconds. I do like, now that I have all my thumbnails uploaded. I do like that I'm doing it this way. I also, I thought about like just shotgunning all of the book stuff. I don't know. There's just the book thing. It just didn't feel right. I have all the stuff recorded. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it. Because I read 3 books total. So with the recordings, I'll figure out what to do with them. But I definitely want to release them in some form. I just don't know what it's going to look like. Also, I don't know. I've just been thinking about kind of just my place in things, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I don't have too much else to say, so I'm gonna let you guys go, and then I'll record a little bit later in the day when I have some more time to just kind of think about things. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Hey guys, it is 6:10, and I was getting ready for bed, and I was like, oh right, I need to film the rest of the video and then compile it and upload it. So, yeah. So I'm here. What did I do today? Well, I kind of wasted a bunch of time, like about 2 hours, which wasn't really a waste, but it was a waste in so much as the thing that I wanted to do I couldn't do. But I'll get to that in a second. So I guess the day started. I talked to you guys earlier, and then I went and got food at the one place. It was like Pine something or whatever. It's a good restaurant that has the tofu vegetable stir fry thing. And so that was really good. The guy remembered me, and that was really nice. He was like, oh, do you want the same order? And I'm like, yes, please. So he just whipped it up, and bada bing, bada boom. So that was very nice. Afterwards, I came back. I don't remember what I did when I came back, but oh right, I was getting ready for. So I looked up butterfly exhibits because I was like, I wonder if there's a butterfly exhibit near here. That's kind of something that I really enjoy doing. Because I was trying to think of like, what do I enjoy doing that I can go and do? And so there was one that was like 2.5 hours away. I'm like, okay, if I would have known about that and planned around it, I could have gone and seen it, but I just didn't think about it. So, but there was one that seemed to be near, like 45 minutes away. So I was like, okay, I will go to this place. Well, turns out, I don't know why it didn't show hours, or at least the hours that I thought it had, it didn't have on Sunday. So it was closed on Sunday. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it didn't show me hours. But so I went on a little drive down the countryside. Turns out it was just a school that has like a butterfly exhibit in it. I'm like, what the hell? So that's interesting. I guess like they do like a park butterfly exhibit thing during the week, and then there's also some sort of school attached to it or something. So yeah, not really sure, but regardless, they were closed. But along the way, there were so many butterflies. like, I'm not kidding you. There was, I don't know, like 10 or 15 butterflies that I flew or I drove past. I was really sad. There was one that was, it was a really large butterfly that was just on the road, and it came out of nowhere. I think maybe I missed it, but I might have hit it. But the guy behind me surely did, because the guy behind me was like right behind me. So one of us kind of obliterated this butterfly that was just struggling on the ground. Um, so I felt bad about that, but it is what it is. But yeah, the whole ride back and forth, there was lots of butterflies. So it's like I kind of got to see butterflies, even though I didn't see them in the way I was thinking I was going to see them. Um, and then I listened to some what's it called? I listened to some YouTube while I was driving. Specifically, like some there was a couple like channel messages that I was listening to, and then I listened to some music, and yeah, that was a good hour and a half, or no, yeah, it was a good hour and a half, and then I was like, I kind of want one more meal before I go to bed, so I should get food and bring it back. What should I get? And I looked up and I was like, oh, there's this one place that is kind of close, like 8 or 10 minutes away. It has some like healthy food. I didn't realize that everything, it was like Mediterranean, which is fine, but it like I don't like the like there's like a special sauce that Mediterraneans use, not hummus. Hummus is fine. Um that is just on all the dishes that I was looking at on the menu in the front. I was like, I don't like I could just ask for it off, but none of the dishes, it just didn't call to me. Like, I think the sauce was like an excuse to not eat there, because all the food looked fine, but I don't know, I just didn't feel it. Um so instead, I walked around the corner and I was like, "Oh, I'm in that open historical mall that I was in yesterday." Um so I walked around again and ended up that this is like, I don't know how I ended up deciding that I was going to get pizza, but I got a slice of cheese pizza and a little calzone, and brought that back. Maybe I just needed the cheese. I'm not sure, but it was tasty, so that was something. But um, so I came back. Then I put a stream on, relaxed, vibed, and now I'm here. I There were lots of moments. So it sounds like I was like on the computer slash listening to stuff all day, but that's not actually true. The whole time I was walking, I didn't have headphones in. Um, Half of the drive, I just didn't have any headphones or anything, and I was just kind of relaxing and thinking. Um, so yeah, it was kind of like I did a lot of nothing, but it was very relaxing. And I've been really like trying to observe this void state, because I've realized how, I don't want to say abnormal in a negative way, but abnormal in a fascinating way, where most people don't have this like void state I have. And I especially found that true when I was talking to the people at that the CE5 stuff on the first day. And yeah, it was kind of like the way I operate is much rarer than I thought. Like I don't know. I had it in my head that like the people that are like bettering themselves and growing and all of that stuff, that they do a similar thing that I do. Which effectively, like, if I had to describe it, it's like stripping everything down and then seeing what's left, and then stripping everything down, seeing what's left, stripping everything down, seeing what's left, over and over and over again. Because it's kind of like each time I do that, I get a really good gauge of, I don't know, just like what fits with the next iteration of me. Because it's like, I've talked about how I keep molting. It's almost like snake molting, but it's like faster. So I don't know. Like, I guess the thing for me that's confusing. I don't know how you're supposed to. I say supposed to. There is no like right or wrong way of doing this. But like, I guess, how do you change if you don't change that way? That's my kind of like question. Because the way I kind of understand the way most people change is it's like they're changing the mask rather than what's under the mask. And I'm like, well, I don't wear masks. So, like, but I think the reason why I haven't run into this until now is because I think people have assumed that I'm wearing a mask. And so when I change, I just change the mask. And like, oh, this is who you really are. And it's like, well, I've always been who I always am. It's just that I change. So it's like, it's the ship of Theseus thing of like, I keep replacing stuff with like upgraded stuff. And eventually it becomes unrecognizable because it's like, I've changed everything. And then, I've noticed in the past people have done the, I gotcha. I knew that you weren't that person. And I'm like, well, I'm not that person anymore. Because, yeah, of course I've upgraded. But, like, I didn't get that, like, oh, they're thinking that, like, the mask got removed. I just never had a mask. I've just been, like, changing. And so it's kind of like, is it that, I guess I'm just kind of talking to myself and talking to you guys and letting you guys kind of see the process here on me trying to figure this out. So I guess what I'm kind of wondering is it more like, am I just digging deeper and that's the difference? Or is there something fundamentally different about the way I do a change? because this is a very important understanding to figure out, because if I do something fundamentally different, then if I teach people how to change and I use that assumption of change, then I don't think people are going to be able to understand what I'm talking about, or like it just won't click with them. And I think this is something innate rather than something like the constant change. This is like a part of me, like a core pillar that I've kind of realized. I didn't even think of it as a pillar, but I'm like, oh, well, if this is such an uncommon thing, then this must mean this is a part of like the pillars, because I don't know. If I'm not changing, I feel like I'm doing it wrong. And I've mentioned that in the past. But I think more than that, it's like, it's not just that I'm changing. It's that it's like an excavation. It's almost like a new game plus. That's a really good way of describing it. You have the base fundamental game, right, that you play. And the way I play reality, I have save one. And I play save one. I effectively beat the game, which is effectively learn everything that I can about the specific build that I built for myself, the specific ego, and everything attached with it. So it's kind of like when it comes to like a building, you have the foundation, and that's the foundation are your pillars. And everyone's foundation is different, but fundamentally we all have a foundation we start from at base. And then as we grow up, we get all of these things that help build a building. And some of it is nurture in the form of like parents, family, society, all of that stuff. And then some of it is our exploration of like reality. And it's like how we are interpreting what's going on. And then those two kind of mesh and build a building. And fundamentally, when we grow up, people just keep building on top of that building. For me, I did that for the first little like portion of my life. But then I tore the building down because I was like, this is fucked. This is a fucked building. And it's not going to hold everything I have to do. So I tore it down, and all the building pieces I set aside and then started fresh with a new set of building pieces. And the thing that was happening is me setting aside all the building pieces, instead of reusing or recycling or getting rid of those pieces, it made me carry a bunch of excess, what I would consider to be like, the excess traumas and excess like stuff that you kind of learn, and you kind of grow up with. And so that's where the proverbial mountain got formed, because I kept removing the building. I'm like, nope, okay, I learned that building, get rid of it. Here's another building. Learn that building, nope, get rid of it. Here's another building. And so the pile got really big, because it's like I just wasn't recycling and cleansing everything properly. So the building pieces still had the old architecture. It just like it wasn't functional. So it was just broken. And so getting back to the game analogy, stop doing analogies within analogies. So getting back to the game analogy, you have your character and you have your like talent build where you create a specific thing like, oh, I'm gonna do like a magic build and it's gonna focus on fire. And so you build it and you do as much as you can with that build. And then once I've fully explored that build, then I start a new game. And I'm like, cool, I know how that build works. I know where that ends. So, like, I don't think I've ever mentioned this, so I think I'm going to talk about it. When I do this building, Matt, I don't know how I'm going to describe this because I don't fully even understand how I know this. But I'm just going to say it because it's a part of like, it's a core part of me. So I have the constantly changing. That is a core part. There's some other core parts that I've talked about in the past. And then there's this other core part, which I'm just now realizing as well, which is I build the foundation. Like, so the foundation's built, but like I build on the foundation and I have a really good way of perceiving how the building will end up. Like what the final product looks like partway through my building. And what I mean by that is it's almost like precognition. And that's where it's like, I don't know how to really describe it. Because what happens is I will I'll test out what it's okay. I have another analogy. So this will make sense. So trust the process. In this analogy, I'm trying to figure out the perfect diet that works for me. So I pick one diet and I stick to it for a month. And I see how I feel throughout that month. And then at the end of that month, I extrapolate with this precognition to figure out what the end result would look like on this diet. And I try different iterations to see what's like the best approach. And then I come up with an end result. And the end result doesn't show up in physical because it's precognition. It's like I can see it. I can see what the future me would look like. And instead of going down that path, I choose to erase the building because that's not a path that I want. And the moment I can see what the path looks like, I immediately know if it's right or not. And if it's not right, I erase it and do another foundation and another building. And so I do this with everything in my life. The thing about, like, for an example, I'll use food as a perfect example. What I've found over these iterations is if I have a choice, I mostly want to eat vegan. However, if it's hard to eat vegan, or the food is trash, then I will eat meats of different kinds or whatever. However, I prefer, like, today I ate the tofu. The first meal was tofu and vegetables, like a sauteed tofu vegetables, and I had some rice on the side. That is like my preferred meal. At least the first meal of the day. I think that works really well. I feel really good when I do it. And the second meal, I don't really know what that should look like. And I'm not saying it has to look like that every day. Of course not. In the past, I thought it had to be that way every day. And back then, it was needed. But now, I'm like, okay, I understand that the main component that's really important is a large amount of vegetables in the morning with some sort of protein. Hopefully it's tofu. If it's not tofu and it's something else, that's okay. But vegetables need to be the morning meal. Like, that has to be the focus. And so whatever I eat has to be focused around that. And if I do that, I feel really good throughout the whole day. So that's like, for me, that works. Will it work for everyone else? Who knows? But like, that's the structure I've found. And so when I find a structure like that works, I basically take that structure and I like move it into the permanent structure area. So I have like permanent structures of different things that I feel has worked really well for me. And basically, I do this with everything. So this is why it takes so long for me to kind of ramp up, because I have to explore. If I want to like feel like I've given it an honest shot, I need to use that extrasensory perception to quickly build, and then see into the like, what is this actually going to look like long term? And then, oh, that's not right. And then rapidly go through this process. And so this is why I changed so much, because I'm doing prototyping effectively of the building. What is the final structure going to look like? Well, I prototype up until it's at a significant progress to where I can see what it looks like and what the impact on me long term looks like. That's why like I did the process of, okay, let's see if I can do once a week, do all the videos at once. That didn't really work very well. So this new iteration for the videos is I record them, and then immediately after recording the last part of the video, I go and I process it. And then afterwards, then I upload it. And so then really the only thing left is a 2-minute, like, I type something down for the description, and then I do a thumbnail. And so that is way, way better for my workflow than clumping it all together. It also makes me feel really good that I'm always ahead by about a week. So like that's the building where I'm like, okay, I see in the future this being really handy, and it doesn't take too much time each day. So like after this, I'm going to go do other stuff, and it's going to process on its own. And because I just finished filming it, everything's fresh in my mind. So I know what I talked about. I can do a quick thumbnail and, upload it, and it'll be good. I also don't run into the scenario of, oh no, I can't upload today because I got really busy, or the computer, something happened to the computer, or whatever. So, yeah. So that's like another example. And again, I do this for everything. So coming back to it, the reason that I do this, or the logic behind why I do this, is because I don't want to be doing things suboptimally. And what I mean by that is like, it's fine if I do things that are, I'm not a machine, so I'm not going to do everything perfect all the time. But if I build some foundational structures where I don't think about it, I just do the things, it allows for my mind to be open. And when my mind is open, it allows for my intuition to talk to me in more clarity. So I don't want to have to worry about having to think about what I'm going to eat. I generally know, okay, dish with vegetables, and then some sort of meat, whether it be tofu or something else, right? I should have said protein, but like you get what I'm saying. When I brush my teeth, it's like I floss first, and then usually it's like me flossing while I'm like doing something else, and so I'm just relaxed. I'm just doing my floss, and I'm not stressed about it. And then afterwards, okay, throw it away, then go brush my teeth. Because guess what? I'm already up. So I might as well just go and hit the toothbrush real quick. Then it's done. And I only do that after I eat my last meal. When is my last meal? It's like, the earlier meal that I brought back, as an example. So it's like I like having these kind of background tasks that don't require my mind at all. And so if I'm doing a background task, it better be fucking good. It better be a good background task. Because I don't want to be doing something that is slowly fucking me up in some way. So this is why I have to do the structure. To me, I have to do this structure. Because how do I know if the outcome is going to be a net positive for me if I don't simulate it and foresee the future of it first? I just can't know. And I'm not going to trust chance, because this is like fundamentally the most important thing you do are the small incremental things you do every day. So like another example is like writing. I already know my writing process now. Yeah, there's some things I can work out to make it like, there are kinks. But generally speaking, I've figured out that about an hour a day, sometimes more, sometimes less, is about what I do. And I'll pump out a lot of like work, or a lot of like it'll be like 2,000 to 3,000 words in an hour, and that's good. That's like solid writing if I do that every day. Now, obviously, recently I've stopped writing because there was something missing, and I think that's I'm gonna find that in Italy. So I feel like I'm very close on the fundamental like universal building block. But anyway, that's a side thing. So I have a lot of these progress things in the background where I might be working on like 10 or 15 individual buildings all at the same time, testing out different things. This is how I rapidly improve myself. And this is how, if someone meets me mid-construction and they think I'm the buildings that are currently up, and then I tear them all down, they're like, whoa, what the fuck happened? And a lot of times, because the buildings are happening in the background, it's like, if I don't advertise it, most people don't even know that it's happening. And so they'll sense something's different, but they won't really have like words to describe it. But they'll know that something has changed. So yeah, that's kind of I don't know if I described this properly or not to you guys, but like, I know that this is important for me to like talk through. So obviously, if you guys understand, that's cool. But yeah, so I guess the two most important things that I do during this process, number one, I wipe the slate completely clean. Every time I want to build a new building. And I don't hold on to the past buildings. Anything, so like an example, using the building analogy. Let's say I build a 2-story building, and I really like the foundational structure of the support beams, but everything else just looks fucking awful. Then what I'll do is I'll recycle everything else, and I'll keep the support beams. And then I'll start from there. And it's almost like I'm letting the building build itself. It's not exactly the way it is, but like, as I try new things, different pieces get added, and so the building looks more and more like a cobbled mess. And that's kind of on purpose. Because, so like an example, when it comes to my my perspective on reality, and like how I view everything that's going on. I've taken a little bit of tarot, I've taken a little bit of channeling, I've taken a little bit of like religion. I've taken some of my book ideas. I've taken ideas from like, the UFO community. I've taken ideas from all sorts of areas, and they've all meshed together. And then once the pieces all fit into place, then I make it look pretty. But before then, it just looks like a tangled mess. And that's okay for me because I know where all the pieces came from. It's kind of like, I don't know, like a node, a bunch of connections where there's a bunch of nodes and there's wires crossing everywhere, and it just looks chaos. It looks like chaos. That's kind of like how my mind like builds everything. And eventually I crystallize it. So it's like, and this is how I make it pretty, is like I crystallize it and I'm like, okay, I'm sure that this part like fits into my larger worldview, or it's a building that I think is really valuable. And I can still tear down the crystal if I need to. But also, that is going to drastically change me because it's like fundamentally woven in deeper. But I can do it because I've done it before. I think about really deeply back in like 2020, 2021, when when I went to the void, that moment of getting shattered basically took apart all of the crystallized stuff, and I was kind of left with a broken mess. Now I'm glad it happened, but like, you know, that was like very fundamentally like a really deep reset. That's also where it became incredibly obvious to me what didn't break, because it was like everything broke. So the things that didn't break, that were left, that was like, oh, these are the pillars. And I've found other pillars over time, and I've discovered that there are more facets to the pillars and whatever, right? But yeah, I don't know. It's something where I'm realizing again that fundamentally, like, people just don't do this. And I understand why. Just to be clear, I don't think there's anything wrong with not doing it this way. And I think this is like the brute force method, so to speak. You try everything. And then but yeah, I tried it, so it didn't work, and I tried it, and it just didn't feel right. And I kind of looked forward and I saw like what the outcome was going to look like. Like an example, okay? I was talking about the foresight. Man, my speech for some reason has had some issues recently. Just like an observation, I'll say that. I don't know if it might be like stress. It could be other things. I'm not sure. I don't feel super stressed, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the inner peace and the inner love that I've cultivated in that like bubble, they're constantly just on. And I don't know if I could function without them at this point, because it's like, I don't know, I've learned to like feel everything while inside. So the world can be in chaos and I can still be incredibly calm and feel love, and that's it. So because I've done my experiments of like stepping outside the bubble and fucking around and trying to figure out how to like feel everything while not being overwhelmed, and yeah. But anyway, I got off topic. So day one of the CE5 event, getting there and experiencing that first day, that was me in like one day building the prototype of what Stephen Greer was explaining to everyone, foreseeing what the future would look like if I went down this path, which I'll explain to you just so that you don't think I'm just bullshitting here. Which, to be fair, if you think that at this point, I don't really care. But I think it's important to explain what this looks like. And this is a really good example. So when listening, I immediately picked up on the fact that this was a recruitment, a soft recruitment. It was not an enlightenment thing. It was not about connecting with extraterrestrials, even though it kind of is. That's not really what this was about. And I caught onto that really fast as he was talking. So, number one, and the reason I think this is because, number one, as he was explaining this, this like set of steps, he has a set of procedures. The procedures involve meditation, meditating in a specific way, having a specific breathing technique. And I didn't know that going in. I just kind of went in. I was like, okay, like I'm supposed to do this. I don't know any of the like intricacies on his stuff. I just know that there's an event and I'll just go. But anyway, so he's explaining this, and I'm like, okay, this is like, I can see what his goal is. His goal is to get everyone in the audience to become a facilitator for groups that will do the CE5 protocols to call down and like interact with extraterrestrials in order to get more people on board and on the same wavelength in order to effectively do a pyramid scheme. But there's no money involved. I mean, I guess technically there can be if you're renting out an event. But for most of this, you just have the app, and the app is free. Yeah, you can do a subscription, but you don't have to. And you basically connect with other people in your area. You get together in a group. You can do it super informally, and you do the thing, and the extraterrestrials might show up. They might not, whatever. But the point is to consistently show contact with these beings. That's layer one. The reason he's doing this is because in his mind, he is fighting catastrophic disclosure via these evil cabal people that are controlling this alien tech. And his goal is to show the extraterrestrials, hey, not everyone is the same, and we're good. You know, maybe they're fucked up people, but, you know, we're really working to, like, fix ourselves and show the world that, like, we can do it a different way. And that's noble and all. But there's a fundamental problem that I have with this. And that fundamental problem is he never once talked about love. He talked about kindness. He talked about being the good guys. But he never once talked about love throughout the whole scenario. It was not involved at all. And that's not to say that it doesn't exist in his, like, sphere, but that's not his main focus. So that immediately was a strike off for me of, like, okay, that's not going to mesh with me because love is, like, very important in my, like, framework. Number two, during the meditation, he wants us to tap in to the infinite, like, basically tap into our soul, because our soul is a part of the one being that exists, like just the one. You can call it God, whatever, the universe, the multiverse, whatever you want to call it. We tap into that, and then through tapping into that, we then leave that by traversing other nodes within this one singular consciousness. And those nodes can be in the past, they can be in the future, they can be on different planets, they can be in different galaxies, different dimensions, whatever it is. And then you kind of like travel around and like view things through like remote viewing, uh, whatever it is, in order to connect to different places. And then when you find something that you feel is like benevolent or whatever it is, you then lead them back to you and where you're at by like giving them markers to follow you. And this is another problem I have. Why are we going out and focusing on other beings when we're not focusing on ourselves? So this is like, before we got to anything else, his fundamental principle of what his goal is and how he goes about it do not fit into my paradigm at all. So if I wanted to go down this route, I would have to completely redo everything or try and figure out a way to cobble it together. So I did the like precognition thing of like seeing where that would lead. And I saw a scenario where a couple years down the line, there's a bunch of people I know, there's a bunch of people I don't know, but they're all people I met through this CE5 stuff. And I'm getting groups together and I'm talking with people, and we're doing a similar thing to what Stephen Greer's doing, but in a lower capacity. And basically this is where like I meet a bunch of people, and yeah, they're not necessarily like, they're not at the same kind of frequency as I am, but also they're higher level frequency than the people I used to be in contact with in the past. So I kind of settled on like, well, this is kind of better than not having any like group at all. And I saw even further how I could have a decent life, but it wasn't the like golden path life that I've been following. It's more comfortable, it's easier because it's known what it's going to look like, but it wasn't my path. And so as soon as I kind of went through that process, that's when I knew I didn't need to be there anymore, because I saw everything I needed to see there. And in the moment, I didn't fully... So I don't know how I'm going to describe this, but I'm just going to try my best. In the moment, all of this is happening under the surface, and all the processing is happening almost subconsciously. Like I hand off all the information and I'm an observer. And I'm doing all of this stuff while like, yeah, I might have an occasional thought here or there that like kind of clues me into what's happening. But it very much is I'm in the moment and I am observing and I'm gathering as much data as I can to understand what's happening. And then the subconscious, I hand everything off to the subconscious. And the subconscious works through it using all the buildings I've already created. These are the buildings that are more permanent. They're not fully permanent, but they're like, okay, I've gone through and I've figured out what structures make sense for me on a foundational level. And so I have a little city that basically everything flows through, and I see if it works in the city. Again, it's a city of buildings. And that's like kind of the filtration process. So I do this Jesus Christ, like, I don't know why why I'm struggling with my words so much. Anyway, maybe I'm still processing some stuff, and so it's like my bandwidth is lower, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going through this process, and I don't really like it's happening under the surface again. So it's like I'm experiencing stuff, but this is how I can kind of get overwhelmed, because I'm doing so much processing is happening under the surface that my social battery and like everything associated with like interacting with people is running off of like 5% of my total capacity. And so it's like, I'm like, oh fuck, how do I talk to people? Oh, hi. Do I have any programs that I can run to try and like explain things to people while I'm like sorting through all this? Because I don't have the capacity to like be interacting with as many people as I was interacting with. And so then I just kind of seize up sometimes, where it's just like on the surface I'm like zoned out and people are talking and I'm like I'm just absorbing. I can't answer questions right now. And then of course, when people are asking me things, I'm like, because it's like I'm absorbing too much, and I'm processing too much. So it's like, I just need a break. But yeah, so then afterwards, when I walked outside and was talking to the one friend, I had a bit more breathing room, but I'm still talking to someone, even though, she seems really nice, and I had just met her. But I kind of felt like there was something she needed to hear from me. I'm not sure what it was. We talked for a while, so like it could have been anything. But I think I was there for what I unlocked and understood, but also so that I could say the thing to her. That's just my gut, like, intuition feeling on that. No one else, like, I tried interacting with other people, but no one was calling to me like she was, in so much as I needed to talk to her. That was it. So I don't know what the outcome of that is. Hopefully she does well and everything's good and she got what she needed. But yeah. So so getting back to this, when I got in the car and started, I put on a random YouTube video, and it's so funny that the YouTube video was like pretty much like my subconscious talking to me, which is very funny because it's like, I don't know how that even happened, but it was like all the things that my subconscious had been chewing throughout that, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hour period was now finally being like unveiled to me consciously. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not going back there. And I trying to convince myself that I should go back. It's like, no, you shouldn't. You actually have a more important role of like, you actually need to be resting. And I'm thinking about how if I had gone to yesterday and today, I would not have had any of this time to kind of relax, enjoy the area, and kind of sort through everything. And I just don't think that I would have been ready or as ready. I would have still been fine, but I don't think I would have been as ready for Italy um, if I had gone down that path. So yeah, so I'm glad that I listened. Um, but anyway, so getting back to this is how I go about it, and the process from start to finish. That was like a little encapsulation of the process. Um, and so the important things are, number one, having the foundation clear of everything. It's really important when you're building a new structure to do it from a foundation that doesn't have bullshit on it. That you're not. And what I mean by bullshit is like, if you still have some sort of trauma that you haven't dealt with in your past, that's like you got to do that first. Otherwise, it's going to skew the results. It's kind of like building on a foundation where there's like 10 rocks that you work around instead. Yeah, you can still do it, but the house is not going to, or the building is not going to look great because you had to avoid this boulder, and then there's this pit, and then there was this like crack in the foundation, and so you like built around it and tried to fill it in with mortar, but it wasn't that great, and now it's leaky and you have issues with the foundation and all this stuff. Again, if you build a building on it, it'll work, but you're not going to get the same results as if your foundation is pristine from the beginning. So that's number one. That's really important, at least for my process. Number two, do not build the whole structure. For me, I build a prototype where I do all of the things that have to show up in the structure in order for me to kind of foresee what the full final product looks like. And I think that'll be different for everyone. I don't know if the prophetic seeing the future stuff, I don't know if that's just a me thing or if that's something that people in general can do. I get the feeling it's a little bit of both. I think there's the possibility for people to do it, but I also think that there's some people are built more tapped in from the beginning. Not saying they can't get tapped in, but I think there's a certain skill set associated with learning how to do that. And for me, it just seems to just be a thing that I can do. So, I don't know. I will say this is different. This like prophetic, vision thing is different than catastrophizing, because I know that I have done the catastrophizing stuff in the past where it's like, oh, like the end of the world's gonna happen, so I need to like do preparedness stuff. So I bought all this equipment and I'm freaking out. And I'm like, oh god, the mountains are gonna blow or whatever. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about like you making up a scenario in your head. I'm talking about literally just like at a certain point, it just clicks for me and then I see something of like me in the future doing a thing, and then I analyze like the me in the future. What is me in the future doing? And I like literally, I'm like in my mind, I'm like looking around, and I'm like, okay, what's happening here? And then once I've like done that, then I can kind of get a feel of like, okay, is this actually the same timeline that I'm currently following? Is this a better timeline? Is this a worse timeline? Like what? And so I start sussing it out. So that's where it's like, I think it's very specific, and I don't think it's something that you can just like do unless you've like either trained yourself for it or you kind of have a natural kind of ability to do that. Don't ask me where I think those things come from because I don't know. So, yeah. In that same way, it's like the void. That thing just like snapped into place and it's just there. I don't know how to like teach someone to get that. You do meditation and eventually you figure it out, but it's like I don't have like a method to tell you how it happened. It just did. So that's where I think they're like I'm like uncovering like gifts or something. I think another thing is like the hands. I've had a lot of videos over the past like 4 to 6 months where I say videos, but like messages or tarot readings or whatever, where like there's something here with my hands that I can feel that is just there that I don't know how to use or what to use or whatever. But it's definitely there's something there. And so again, it's like it's another one of those like gift things where it's just like I don't know where it comes from. I can't tell you. Not to say that you guys don't have gifts. I'm sure you do. I'm sure it's just laying dormant, waiting to be unlocked. So yeah. But getting back to this. So you clear it off, you build enough of the structure in order for you to kind of see what the outcome's going to look like. And then afterwards, you pick with your discernment, like, okay, what is it relative to like, here's my current path. Here's this potential path. Is this potential path a part of the path I want to go on? Or is it a distraction or something that maybe doesn't fit with me? And, you know, along the way, like, if you notice, the foundation part has to do with the deep meditation and healing that I've done for myself. The quick prototyping that I've done has to do with me consistently building new structures and learning the best ways to discern what is core and what is not in whatever structure I'm building. Then there's this like prophetic gift thing, and then there's intuition. So if you don't have all four of those things kind of like locked down, then I don't know how you would be able to follow what I'm doing. So that's why I've come to realize that like the way I change is very, very specific. And it requires like a very specific skill set that I don't think most people have. And it's not to say that people can't do equally helpful or equally profound changes on their own. I just don't know what it would look like. So one thing that I have come to the realization on is because I've done this with so many things over the years, I'm able to I'm able to figure out the heart of construction errors. Using the building analogy, where I can look at someone else's structure and I can say, yeah, there's this beam right here that's just off. And the problem is they don't even sometimes know that they're building a structure. And so when I say a beam is off, it's like I'm talking to someone who kind of haphazardly just hammered nails and like threw wood together, and it just happens to look like a structure. And so there needs to be a certain level of awareness of like that you're actually building something before I can help you like learn how to be better at building. It's kind of like having an undergraduate degree in architecture and drafting and all of this stuff, and you build up a lexicon of like different information, and then you're like, oh, awesome, now that I have the verbiage to understand what you're pointing at, now deep work can start happening, and you can start rapidly learning, like, okay, here's the structural foundation issue. Here's why it's an issue. Here's how you can fix it or heal it or whatever. And this is how I might go about it. You obviously can take it into advisement. You don't have to build it the way I would build it. But here's my observations. So I'm good at that. And I think because I understand how buildings and structures are created in this way. And again, when I say building, I just want to clarify again. When I'm talking about building and structure and foundation and all of this stuff, it is a metaphor that is specifically pointing to a specific way of existing. So it could be brushing your teeth. It could be getting up in the morning and, shower, shit, shave, an example, before work. Or it could be the work itself. It could be your experience with your partner. It could be how you present yourself in social situations. It could be a whole host of things. And because I've done so many buildings, there are commonalities across all the buildings on weak points or points of interest that are pretty easy to spot once you realize like what you're looking for. And so, I don't have to personally experience some horrific event in order to notice that fundamentally you built your house with trauma. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, your house is going to have issues. You might have anxiety. You might have depression. You might deal with being really snappy to other people. You might push people away. All of these things aren't necessarily, they're not the root cause. It's the building that you built that is the cause, not the things themselves. It's kind of manifestations. And so I'll give you an example. Again, using the building. A manifestation might look like a leak, where your roof is leaky. Why is it leaky? Because the way you built one of the beams for the foundation skewed the roof in such a way that water collects on one part of the roof and then it funnels down through the cracks. That's an example of a structural issue, right? And so, again, you can totally live in a leaky house. You just got to put a couple buckets up, no big deal. However, if you don't want to live in a leaky house, you have to go through and find either a way to patch the house or you tear it down and make a way better house, not using the rotted wood or whatever. In this case, clearing the trauma, healing the trauma at the root, and being like, okay, you have this like thing that happened to you when you were a child, or maybe when you were an adult, maybe you were 20 and you got really, really bad rejection from 3 different people, and man or woman, doesn't matter. Maybe you got cheated on, whatever. And so the thing that was a temporary structure that got torn down, but then you reused all the pieces to build another house with the next person. And so when you do that, of course you're going to have issues because you're using the same building parts. This is why you have a scenario where if you're clingy because you're afraid that people are going to leave you, you have a similar kind of scenario that happens each time with your partner. Because your partner's like, bro, like, why can't you be like normal? Why can't you be secure in the fact that I'm not going to cheat on you? Like, I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to cheat on you. I care about you. But this isn't enough for you because you still have the trauma from the past when you built your new structure with this new person. So that's why it's so important to cleanse your materials from the get-go. And to make sure you don't have, out your front door, you don't have a giant pile of old materials from the past 10 houses. That's another issue. It's like, okay, you have a beautiful house, but you have 10 houses worth of broken materials out your front door and in the backyard and in the side yard, so you can't grow anything, you can't do anything in the backyard, you can't go in the garage because it's full of just, random building materials. So it's like a half usable house. Again, that's it's a different problem, but fundamentally it's the same issue, which is you haven't cleaned yourself fully. You haven't cleansed all of that stuff. You haven't healed all of it. You haven't let go. So it's going to keep hanging on. But yeah. So that's I don't know if that helped you guys at all. I went really deep in the analogies, but I think for me, analogies are very helpful because I can track onto something that's like a real world equivalent. So hopefully this makes sense. But yeah, so I guess tying it all together. And I'm not really sure where like what I was trying to get out of this, or what my what I was trying to say, but I guess this is why I think fundamentally I have struggled in the past a lot. because I just hadn't recognized that most people don't do things this way. Not saying that everyone doesn't do it this way, but the majority of people I've interacted with in my life, just as I look back, it's like, yeah, they haven't done it this way, which is fine, but yeah. This is why I think it's so important to be intentional. Like, it's so important to have intentionality with every little thing that you do. I'm not saying you have to control your life to the micron. That's not what I'm saying. But having some basic foundational things that you've thought of that matter to you, where even when a fucking hurricane happens, you're still like fine with doing the foundational basics that you've kind of worked into your life. That's really what it's for. And it frees up your ability to kind of just enjoy your life, because you don't have to like make so many decisions on a day-to-day basis, and instead you can focus on just absorbing all that is around you. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go. Tomorrow when I wake up, 7:30 now, I'm gonna basically go to bed right right after this. So I'll probably wake up. Hopefully, I'll wake up at like 5, and then I'll be able to get a bunch of stuff done, like packing. I want to take a shower. I'm gonna pack everything. I'm gonna go get food before I head out to the what's it called? To the airport. Obviously check out at 11. And yeah, I'll just well, I was gonna look to see what time my actual flight is. I think it's like 2 something. So if I'm there by like 12, it'll be fine. And checkout's 11 here, I think. Yeah, so something like 11. Yeah, checkout 11. So everything should work out. But I will film the entire day's worth of travel, because there's no way I'm gonna post anything or do anything aside from just flying, because I'm gonna be flying for like 8.5 hours to Italy from Washington D.C., and then there's like an hour and a half layover, or not layover, an hour and a half wait, I guess. Maybe that's called a layover. I don't remember. But anyway, I'm going to be waiting in the airport for like an hour and a half for the flight. And before then, it's another hour in the air, which is actually just 20 minutes in the air. And then there's like 30 or 40 minutes of taxiing and whatnot on the first plane, which is at 2. So, yeah. So anyway, I'm going to be like giga tired and giga just like, it's going to be a mess. So I'm just going to film everything I want to film tomorrow in the morning. So I guess this is it for this part of the trip. I'll try to film that. I'll try to actually have stuff done to where I'll film it as like one of the last things I do before I leave. I still need to have time to like upload it. or at least like what's it called? Compile it. But okay, I'm just yapping at this point. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm excited. This is what it's all been about, and I feel like I'm ready. I'm as ready as I can be. And also, this was really helpful. So hopefully, you guys got some insight out of it as well. Okay, bye.